Eco-womanism is an approach to environmental ethics that really foregrounds the perspective, the genius, the ideas, the concepts, the religiosity and spirituality of women of African descent. And it is often in the environmental movement that we do not always include women of color and their voices, and particularly women of African descent, even though we have huge models of ecological genius and certainly leaders in ecology throughout the world who are women of African descent. Nevertheless, one of the spaces in which in religion and ecology that really needed to grapple with this kind of intersection of race, class, gender, and beyond was really coming up with an approach that would allow all of us to think not just about environmental degradation and climate change, but also in relation to racial injustice and economic injustice. And so a frame that allows us to do that is eco-womanism. It's interesting, Mary Evelyn, that we started talking about Alice Walker, in fact, because as you know, my first book really was uncovering a lot of her nonfiction voice and recognizing so much of the social activism that she was a part of. She marched with King and so many others in the civil rights movement. But she was also one of the leading African-American voices in the environmental movement and went through a lot of kind of test and trial to be able to really signal that African-American communities and African-American people have just as much a right to be concerned about the planet as anyone else. Typically, and this is still the case today, one of the reasons why eco-womanism is so important is because an assumption and a myth is often construed that African Americans are always in tension and always fighting for racial justice and therefore don't, quote unquote, have time, unquote, to be engaged in environmental and justice work. And that's untrue. We see from Alice Walker, but we also see from a variety of different authors and historians that African-American history is particularly tied to the environment and particularly tied to ecological justice.